everybody. You're watching The Nick Williams Show. My name is Nick Williams. I'm an independent filmmaker and producer from Boston, Massachusetts, and you are watching the best live filmmaking podcast, I would say, on the East Coast, but probably anywhere in America. Like I said, I'm a producer from Boston, and tonight I want to talk a little bit about storytelling, specifically geared toward independent filmmakers. And the reason that I want to do that is because I feel like it is a little overlooked, and I feel like indie filmmakers specifically are given a little bit of extra leeway when it comes to the story. And I am alone this evening because my producer, Edmund, after getting sick and coughing and hacking all over everything, decided to up and leave to Los Angeles for some time. Hopefully he'll be back next week. But who knows? He might be choosing to live in a tent out on Skid Row or something of that nature. Before we get started, make sure you like this video and subscribe to the channel. If you're watching this live and I say something that you either agree with or disagree with or have questions about, please feel free to leave a comment in the chat. After I'm done saying what I'm saying, I will have a look at the chat. And if we have anybody watching this evening, it is a Monday, so sometimes there's people, sometimes there's not. But if we do have people watching, and if there are comments, I will address them after I have said everything that I need to say. First and foremost, I have to say a word of thanks to my dear producer Edmund for leaving me with a parting gift, the gift of a spring cold, because I am battling through, let me tell you. But it is Monday, and it is 8 p.m. here in Massachusetts, so it is important that I'm here. And hopefully I will be able to get through this evening relatively smoothly without ruining your visual and auditory experiences of, with coughing and hacking. And, my occasional vaping doesn't really help with the whole cough situation. But you know what? This cold ain't got nothing on me, kid. Nothing. All right? There's a couple of points when I get into storytelling that I want to talk about. Now, recently, the thing that brought this on as a subject, as a topic of why I want to talk about this evening, I recently watched a movie. And I feel bad because I don't know the actor's name. I probably do know the actor's name. He's a good actor. He's the star of The Boys. He's in this new movie called Novocaine. And I say new, but it probably came out 6 months ago, whatever it is. Novocaine is a semi-indie kind of movie, action-y movie, supposed to be comedic. I hate things that are supposed to be funny. Also, if you're new here, I talk a lot about things that I dislike. So get used to it. I just feel like so much of this community is like, I just love that. And yeah, I could talk about all the things I like, but they're the same things that everybody else likes. And then I feel like the stuff that people don't like never gets talked about. All right? So I don't say it to be a Debbie Downer, but I'm good at bringing attention to problems that I think are, fixable. That's kind of my whole thing is like, hey, like, why are we doing this? It's like people who use their hands to cook over an open flame. And you go, oh, well, doesn't that burn the back of your hand? And you go, well, yeah, but like, what are we supposed to do? It's the way we've always done. Well, I don't know. You could use a pan. You could use a pan instead of your hand. You could use a pan, cook food in. You go, oh, okay, well, yeah, I know. But, it's just, this is the way we've always done it. And it's like, yeah, but it's fixable. And it will save money. And you won't go through so many chefs because they won't burn all their fucking hands. So, yeah. That's the type of stuff that I talk about. And it's kind of a similar vein as to this evening. I've got a list. I compiled a list of about 10 things. I am going to be referring to my notes this evening. And I have no Edmund here to make fun of. So all of tonight's gesturing will be relegated to myself. Let me just set this up here for after. That's good. And then we got, okay. So one of the things that I see a lot of is, and again, this is more from like a mentor standpoint, things that I see film students say, oh, well, my professor said this. This is what I have to do. Or I looked this up, or I'll see it in a YouTube video, or I'll see something, and people say this, and I just can't get with it on some level, you know? When you say things like, your protagonist, hold on. Before we get into this, I'm sorry, but I do have to make one announcement. Since we're rounding up to 600,000, I wish, 600 subscribers, right? 600 subscribers. When we get to 1,000 subscribers, I have a very large announcement that I'll be making. I'm not going to make the announcement if we don't hit 1,000 subscribers. The reason I say that is not because of any sort of YouTube monetization. But my followers, if you're watching this channel, if you're subscribed to this channel, chances are you're a New England filmmaker. 90% of you are in Maine to Rhode Island. And so the people that are here matter the most to me because I don't really do YouTube all the time, and this show really is for New England filmmakers. So it's one of those things where once we have 1,000 people that are legitimate New England filmmakers following this channel, I have a very large and great, positive, for once, announcement that I'll be making. But that's the thing. If we don't hit 1,000, I won't make the announcement. Nothing will ever happen. If we hit 1,000, I'll know that there is enough of a commitment from you guys that that's really all I need. That's really all I need is 1,000. If we have 1,000, because the thing is once you get to that number, if you can get to 1,000, then you can get to like 75 million. In my head, that's how it works. It's like that's a big milestone, and then it's exponential from there. And it has so much less to do with me and more to do with all of us, and what I'm going to be able to do for all of us once we get to that point. So if you're new to the channel, just hit the subscribe button. Tune in on Mondays. Once we get to 1,000, we're going to have a very big announcement coming up that will involve, honestly, probably all of you. So I don't care if you're an actor. I don't care if you're a sound person. I don't care if you're a gaffer, grip, a PA, whatever. If you're involved in New England, in the film industry, you need to subscribe to this channel. I promise you it'll be worth it. Hit the subscribe button. Okay, moving right along. So the number one, and these are in no particular order. I just call them as I see them, okay? Your protagonist needing to be relatable. On its surface, yes, okay, relatable, but not really. And why do I say that? Because I'm guilty of saying this stuff too. Make films that are relatable, tell stories that are simpler, blah, 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 blah. But your protagonist doesn't have to be relatable. Your protagonist has to be understandable. If you look at characters like Walter White, Tony Soprano, anything where the main character is a criminal or does things that, like, even on your worst day, you probably wouldn't do. Why do we say the phrase, and I just feel like maybe it's incorrect English, I don't know. We say the phrase that, like, oh, well, I can relate to that person. No. You understand that person. Now, I'm going to use Tony Soprano as an example because it's the greatest show ever made, ever. Tony Soprano is a bloodthirsty serial killing criminal. He just is. But he has a code of ethics, and he separates his work, which is his criminal activity, from his home life, which is his family activity. And when he's home, he's a dad and a husband, and when he's at work, he's a mob boss. That is his job. And that, to us as human beings, is understandable. Okay? It's not relatable, though. Walter White having cancer, okay, maybe that's relatable to some people. But being a meth cooker or whatever is not really relatable, I hope, to a lot of the majority of people out there. And so, do you see what I'm saying? So it's like the psychology of the characters is clear. And that's something that we need to focus on. And we'll play into this as we go along the list a little bit more. This stuff is super important. If you're new, take notes. I'm telling you, this stuff is super important. And by the way, last week I mentioned that I would review indie films, and I would put a clip together and whatever, and I post the clip, and it gets tons of views. This stuff gets tons of views, but people don't submit their films to me to watch because I don't know. I don't know if they think I'm going to be mean or whatever, but like, I think, you know what it is? I think they know what I'm going to say. They know. They just know that I'm going to be honest. I'm going to be honest. And if I don't get something, I'm not the kind of person who's going to go, oh, well, what? I'm just going to go, oh, yeah, no, that doesn't fucking make sense at all. Nobody understands that at all. Not in a mean way, but because nobody fucking understands it. That's why, you know? And so, you know, but these are the things that I would comment on when it comes to storytelling. And can we just say, yes, I know, with the asides, get over yourself, okay? I'm sick, just deal with me this week. I gotta just say, storytelling is the most basic form of human communication that has ever existed ever. Whether it was cave drawings or telling stories around a fire or whatever it may be, it is the only thing that truly can connect multiple people to a singular idea. Whether it's a movie you're watching or it's Steve Jobs doing his keynote presenting the first ever iPhone, storytelling and telling that and conveying that message and creating and painting that picture in the mind for someone else is exactly what we do, except we just paint the picture for you, and we put it on a screen and then say, that's the picture we're trying to paint. That's our job. Okay, number 2. You need a clear goal right away, like in your script, in your story. This isn't necessarily wrong, but you, the filmmaker, need a clear goal right away for your characters. Not necessarily the audience. The problem is that if you don't know where you're going, or if you're over-embellishing or throwing things in there like, oh, well, then the mom gets cancer, or then the dog gets hit by a tree or a bus or whatever, just to make things more dramatic, it doesn't actually help anything. And if you feel like you're needing to throw extra stuff in to make things more interesting, just tell a different fucking story. It's not that difficult, you know? I was thinking about it the other day, and I want to talk a little bit about the Novocaine movie as well, because God almighty, it was just not... It was kind of painful, and I'll explain why. Because honestly, it was a decent movie, and it was kind of funny, and it was some actiony moments or whatever. But the writing, the dialogue, I'm a big dialogue guy. If the dialogue sounds off, if it doesn't sound like a normal person would say that, I'm like, meh. That really throws me out of it. And then conceptually, you got to have rules, and that's another thing that I'm going to talk about. So we'll get there in a minute. Just bear with me. Oh, man. Okay. You have to have a clear goal right away. Yes, you, the filmmaker, have to know the trajectory and the path the story is on. If you don't, you will end up running around in circles, and you will have no idea where to go from there. If you look, though, at movies like No Country for Old Men, delayed clarity creates intrigue, but that doesn't mean you don't know where the story's going along the way. You might have a momentary confusion. And again, this is kind of advanced stuff when it comes to script writing and storytelling and everything else. But if that's too advanced for you, which is okay if it is, a lot of us are very new, right? Don't do it. You can try it, but if it fails, you lick your wounds and you try again another time, you know? Yeah, this concept of needing to raise the stakes constantly. Okay, scale is not a stake. What do I mean by that? A quiet breakup scene between two people who we as the audience thought were in love, and it ends up in this sappy, quiet little moment. And then your character and the whole crux of the film and the story was dependent on these two staying together, and they break up. That raises the stakes significantly more than a Michael Bay movie where everything explodes. You don't have to, God, I'm not feeling well tonight. You do not have to take everything up to a level 50 just because you think that it makes things more dramatic or tells a better story, because let me tell you, it does not tell a better story. Okay? Oh, man. Let me see. Oh, this one kills me. People who are like, oh, your character must change. You have to have a character arc. Tell that to James Bond. Okay? Your character, people, characters, their morals, their compass, who they are inside. Characters never change. But depending on the way that they act and interact with the world around them changes, and so they appear in a different light. But if you're a James Bond, you kind of flatline throughout the whole movie. You do cool things when you interact with the world around you, but you're the same. Bond, James Bond, shaken, not stirred, kill somebody. Bond, James Bond, shaken, not stirred. I mean, it's kind of like a rhythmic thing. He shows up, he's tall, dark, and handsome, he sleeps with the lady, he gets a martini, he kills some bad guy, and he's out. That's the movie. Sorry if I ruined James Bond for anybody, but like when you go to a James Bond movie, that's what you should be expecting. If you expect something different, who's really the idiot? You know what I mean? Oh, man. Conflict in every scene. Needing to have conflict in every scene. Again, it doesn't mean that people need to have cancer in every scene. It doesn't mean that every single scene needs to be a bank robbery. It can be as simple as a group of people walking into a diner. They're very excited to get this slice of key lime pie because this is the only diner that actually makes homemade key lime pie, but every other diner says they do, but this one actually does. You know the lady who makes it yourself. You walk in, and they're out, but they have lemon meringue pie. If you want that, we buy that one. That's conflict. That's a whole short film right there. What does the character do next? What happens next? What if the whole dilemma is which slice of pie do I pick? Not everything needs to be like, and then there was a 75 car pileup outside. It's like, okay, that never happens ever. And you want to talk about relatability? We need to have more scenes where there's like stagnant air. I don't know how to explain it. There needs to be more of like reality. There needs to be moments of, if you want your characters to be relatable, if you want people to feel what the characters are feeling, stop adding shit. You know, let the actors actually act with each other. Let them kind of feel that awkwardness. Let them feel that moment and see what it's all about. I hope this makes sense to some people, because I really am not going to check the chat until I'm done with this shit, so just bear with me. Oh, man. The ending must be satisfying. I'm a big proponent of a satisfying ending, okay? I'm a big Prince Charming kisses Snow White, all live happily ever after. I love that. But it's not necessarily necessary. You look at good movies like Requiem for a Dream. I'm sorry, what's it called? The Sopranos finale. I messed up on my notes there. You like that? You look at Sopranos finale, just cuts to black. No closure, no ending. Not a big fan of that. But honestly, sometimes that can just be it, especially if the story is just going on and on and on. Sometimes you can end your story with the beginning of a story. This is also a very big thing that you can do. As an example, once I had a idea for a short film from based on an idea from my childhood. I never made it, but it was an idea. And it was about, I just remember one day my mom needed to go to the grocery store. She was doing her weekly shopping, right? I was a young kid. And her phone kept ringing and things kept happening that got in the way of her getting to the grocery store. And I thought it would be an interesting concept to start the movie with her needing to go to the grocery store, and we think that we're going to spend all of this time in the store. But the end of the movie is that she actually gets to go. And it's really the story of what takes place and what hinders her from being able to just even get in the car to go to the grocery store to do the shopping. Because the shopping is the boring part. The shopping, you walk around, you put stuff in the cart, you check out, you leave. find the interesting moments and emphasize those. And by the way, I saw this recently. I forget what movie it was. Honestly, it might have been a short film or an indie film that I watched recently. Maybe it was at Southie. I don't know. But I doubt it. I feel like I watched something recently. Maybe someone sent me a link to something. It doesn't matter because I don't want to call it out anyway. But like, is it enough with everything is like 700 cuts of like, and then she gets out of the car, insert on the inside door handle, then out exterior of the car, the door opens, and then we see the foot step out, and then we see her get out of the car, and then she walks in, and then we see the key go into the door. Tell me when you're annoyed. And then the key goes into the door, and then we see her walk in, and then we see her take the coffee out of the cupboard, and then we see her put the coffee in the... Why can't you just cut to her sitting down at the table with a fucking cup of coffee? Like, it just makes the audience feel like you think they're a bunch of idiots. Like as if we don't know how to make coffee because you thought it would be a cool thing to have this B-roll sequence of them making coffee. Like, nobody gives a shit. Okay, I'm going home. Or, yeah, I'm on the way home. I'll see you there in a minute. Whatever. And then you cut to her, boom, sitting there with a cup of coffee. And then the other person walks and you go, you're late. I made a whole cup of coffee. There's some right there if you want some. That's all you got to say. That's all you got to do. It's like, it's not difficult. I hope this is landing this evening because, God almighty, I don't feel well. I also feel like these little sayings like, oh, your character must change. You need a satisfying ending. They just get thrown out there without any sort of context. And we know how I am with context. We know how I am when it comes to context and needing context. When you say something like, you need a tight structure, like to your story, to your script. Sure, that's true. But the movie doesn't have to be in that same tight structure. You can manipulate the structure. See, this is the thing. Picasso, who I reference quite frequently as a painter, spent his entire childhood painting photorealistic portraits of people before he put the two eyes over here. I say this all the time, okay? But why do I mention this? You need to know the rules of what you're doing, do them really, really well so that they become second nature, and then you can break the rules. No offense to any students that may or may not see this someday, but to the people that are out there saying, well, you know, I just wanted to be different. Don't be different. Don't be different. Just tell me a fucking story. Don't build me a clock. Oh, my old boss, Chris, he used to say this all the time. He'd go, all right, do me a favor, okay? Don't build me a clock. Just tell me what time it is. That's what he used to say all the time. He's 100% correct. We don't need to know the inner mechanisms and the inner workings of Rolex. We believe it. We trust it. That's why they can charge the money that they charge. Just give me the watch. I give you a lot of money. That's the way it works. That's why Rolex, if you notice, Rolex charges a lot of money. And the lower brands are like, well, we put this and that, a click, apply, we do this, the thing, they go back and forth like it. No money. They don't make any money. Cheapo watches, nada watches. Okay? Oh, my God. Okay. Oh, yeah. Make the audience feel good. Make the audience feel good. You ever hear people say that? If you went to film school, if you're ever writing a script, you ever watched a YouTube video on script writing or storytelling or anything like that, and they go, oh, yeah, just, you know, you make sure you want the audience to feel good. No, how about you make the audience feel anything? Have them feel anything. Literally anything. That's the Requiem for a Dream comment. That's the one where I wanted to pull that name in there too. You don't really feel good watching Requiem for a Dream. Not everything is very satisfying in that movie. But you definitely feel something. And the characters are relatable as fuck. Okay. So Novocaine. Let's talk about Novocaine now. Now that I've gone through some of these things that are kind of important to me. And if you have questions, just comment down below. I'll dig deeper into this when I feel better in a few weeks or whatever it is. Novocaine, I'm going to look this guy up because if I don't, it's going to bother me. What do we got here? We got a couple comments. See, I can't, if I can start going on the internet. Who is this? What is this about? Oh, what if the story is totally over the top as a gimmick, but great otherwise? Do you think that prevents it from being a good movie? You got to give me an example. Like if you're thinking of scary movie, right? It's a parody movie. It's obviously over the top, something like that. No, I don't think that it's necessarily a bad thing. I really don't. But that's the kind of the point of it. And as long as the movie itself acknowledges that that's the point of it, then it's fine. It's not a big deal, if that makes sense. But I'm talking to indie creators here, right? So it's very difficult when you have indie creators because they think that the mom always has to have the cancer. They think that there's always a thing that's like that's just too much. It's just they do too much. Just tell a regular story. Jish.mp4. Recent Marvel and Star Wars products are clear examples of scale not equating to stakes. Massive world endy stuff, literally bigger stuff, yet nobody cared. Exactly, nobody cares. And by the way, everybody's always force sensitive in Star Wars now. Can't fucking stand that shit. All right, Novocaine. Yeah, Novocaine. Jack Quaid. That's who it is. Jack Quaid is the guy from The Boys. Oh my God. This guy's a good actor. He's a funny actor, comedic actor. Novocaine is about a guy who cannot feel pain. And it's a rare disease. Maybe it actually exists. Maybe it doesn't actually exist. And whatever. It's a movie, right? I'm sold. Fine. So where's my issue? My issue is that he can't feel pain, but apparently that means he can't feel anything except for sex. He felt that. So it's but he couldn't eat pie because he was afraid that he would bite his tongue and, he wouldn't feel the pain of the tongue bite. And so he would bleed out. But if you're going to have a character that feels no pain, or if the reason you're not eating pie is because you're afraid you're going to bleed out, how does it make sense when he gets stabbed or when he gets, there's at one point there's a ball that swings that has spikes on it and stabs him in the back. I just watched the movie, okay? And he doesn't feel it. And it's a funny kind of slapsticky moment. You go, okay, but then why don't you just eat the fucking pie? It's you have to have rules in your world that make it make sense. Otherwise, it just kind of I've said this before. I think I said it last week. I'm an easy sell. Okay, Harry Potter. Wizards and witches don't exist, but they do in Harry Potter. Okay, I'm sold. Done. That's it. It's very good. And part of the thing that makes Harry Potter so good is the world building. It's every detail that's in Harry Potter. Yeah, it's a cool story too, don't get me wrong. But there's never this doesn't work or that doesn't work. I mean, there might be a couple, but that's why J.K. Rowling spent 5 years developing the world of Harry Potter so that there wouldn't really be room for bullshit. You know what I mean? So you gotta really think about that type of stuff. And having a character not be able to feel pain is one thing. Okay, sure. But having them feel nothing at all, except for when it's convenient to the story of the script, takes the audience right out of it. And you go, oh, you think that we're dumb. Not overtly, not in an aggressive or rude way, but it's just fuck you. And you expect people to spend $20 on this shit. And I'm sorry, it's lazy. It's lazy bullshit storytelling. Now, because the character in the story feels no pain, he gets on this wild goose chase and ends up in a house that's booby trapped. Of course he does. So he gets an arrow shot through the leg and like all this other crazy bullshit that would never really happen because he feels no pain. So instead of just like telling a good story about a character who feels no pain, we have to scale everything up. We have to put him in situations where if he was a normal person, he would have been screaming in pain. But no, we put him in situations where, if you have his leg chopped off, and that's funny because he wouldn't feel it, so who cares? But it's fucking lazy. It's lazy. And then, I don't know. So because of that, it ends up making me feel like, this whole fucking thing is just a bunch of bullshit. I don't know. God, I'm not feeling well tonight. But I shall persevere because that's what I do. And I even tried. This is big for me, too. I really didn't do a lot of talking today. I kind of sat in my office, kind of sat in the studio. I just did my thing. I edited some stuff. I prepped for the show. I tried to keep it light, but God almighty. Whew. I was not feeling it. Thankfully, I shouldn't even say anything. Knock on wood. I haven't done a lot of coughing or hacking yet this evening. Let's move on here. My God, let's move on here. This week, I've got so many things planned. Tomorrow, I have a lunch date plan that should be relatively interesting. And then what's it called? Oh, Thursday. Thursday, if you're going to Studio Lab for Industry Night, I will be there for Industry Night. And that should be relatively fun. God, I've had so many lunch meetings recently. You have no idea. You have no idea what's about to come barreling down on this community in a good way. Also, Jish, if you're still out there, can you shoot me a text after the stream if you don't mind? Because I have a question for you that I'm not going to get into right now on the stream. But I just saw your comment, and so I'm thinking of you. Yeah, there's a lot of things. Come see me at Studio Lab on Thursday night. It's their first spring industry night. I don't know if Edmund will be there with me or not, but I guess that'll all depend on whether or not the lines at the TSA subside. I know it's a big fake news story that everybody's talking about these days. It'll be a fun one. Let me see. I don't know. I really don't have a lot more to talk about than that this evening, and I don't really feel well. So if we have comments, questions, anything, please submit them now. And if not, I'm going to go to my new thanks for watching screen. And I will not be doing a Take Tuesday tomorrow unless I feel significantly better. So I'm sorry if tonight's episode is a little wah-wah, but it's not because of my intention or my nervousness or my potentially having a bad day or whatever it is. It is solely due to the fact that I am not feeling 100%, which I can say is 110% producer Ed's fault. So thank you, Edmund, for that. If we don't have anything else, just make sure that when you are writing your scripts and you are developing your stories and you are doing what you feel needs to be done in order to... Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. I'll be fine. Everything will be great. But when you are developing your characters and when you are developing your stories and when you are doing everything that you want to, or when you're creating everything that you want to put into a script, you need to make sure that it makes sense. This will be a funny one, Steven, since you're in the audience. Long time ago, there was I was going over a script. I was doing a table read of some sort with two writers who wrote a script about a kid who was a shithead kind of idiot who got a job in a restaurant. And he didn't know anything about working in a restaurant. And at one point, there was some sort of confrontation thing that happened in the script, and the character responded with something kind of goofy. And I looked up at the writer, and I said, okay, this doesn't make any sense. Not being a dick, just saying, this doesn't make any sense. If you were the person in the script, if this was really real life, what would you do? And the writer looked at me and said, I would punch this guy in the face. And I said, why is he not doing that in the script? Why is he doing something that is completely irrational, completely like not within his character means or anything else? No, the writer didn't have a really good answer, and so something ended up being altered or changed. But still, when it comes to developing these characters and developing these stories, I feel like it's a very almost cliche thing for newer writers or newer filmmakers to want to add extra. Oh, this will be funny if, or this will be dramatic if, or whatever. You're wrong. It's not funny. It's not dramatic. It's fucking dumb. Hold on, bottom feeder. Hold on, bottom feeder. I'm squinty tonight because I can't see anything. How do I pop this? This is why you need a producer here. Isn't it crazy when you think that Edmund's probably loving this. Hold on one second. I see a lot of indie films that gravitate toward drug-fueled dream sequences now. Thank you, Bottom Feeder, by the way, for your comment. Now, maybe that is gradually the kind of... why can I not? Maybe that is genuinely the kind of film that they want to make, but I can't shake the feeling that they are afraid to make something bigger than their pockets can pay for, or they are compensating for poor writing skills. Thoughts? Yes. First of all, before I dive into Bottom Feeder's comment, Jish also said, can I also blame Ed for my sniffles? Yes, you can, Jish. Everything that goes wrong on this planet is usually, if not undoubtedly, Edmund's fault. Okay? So last week it was Steven's fault, but he's in the chat this week, and I appreciate him being here. So, but yes, no, you can blame Ed for everything. Okay, diving into the drug-fueled dream sequences. Yes, I totally agree. There is to me, it's a little lazy. I'm not gonna lie. And listen, if you have a film out there, people watching who have a drug-fueled dream sequence or whatever, I'm not attacking you. Do you? And maybe you're the one person, whoever you are, that actually thought this was a good idea. Not a good idea. Not a good idea. You know why it's not a good idea? Because they don't exist. Nobody goes on these hippy-dippy, drug-fueled dream sequences. Everybody acts like taking a gram of mushrooms is the same as doing an ayahuasca trip in, some weird hut in New Mexico or something like that. And it's just not. It's just not that. Things get a little loopy. Okay, whatever. But it's not like the first time you drop acid, you end up seeing aliens on another planet or whatever it is you're doing, dances, whatever. It's a little dramatic, and it doesn't make any sense. So it ends up feeling lazy, and it becomes realistically just this time filler. Well, these kids were going to go to a party, but then they did acid, but it was laced with fentanyl. And so they do this drug-fueled dream sequence thing, and it's like, shut up. Why? What is the fucking point? What is the point of this shit, It just feels lazy. And it's like, well, why are we even telling this story? The thing I find funniest, Mr. Bottom Feeder, is that the people that tell these stories 9 times out of 10 have never done anything or even remotely come close to the stories that they're telling. It's kind of like, and I've seen this before. I've never, I don't want to, whenever there is legitimate drug use in a story, you can tell if the writer has dealt with either drug use themselves or had family members who have been addicted to drugs. You can tell immediately based on the way the drug-afflicted character and the other characters in the story react and speak with them. You can tell immediately if it's something that they've actually dealt with, whether personally or, by... you can just tell. You can also tell if they've never met anyone who's ever had a drug problem ever. Because the things that they think happen, or the things that the other characters say to them, or the way that they get treated, or whatever it is, it's like, oh my God, have you seen it? Do you know what a drug is? What was your drug problem? Advil? It's a little shocking. And this is another thing that I feel like a lot of indie writers don't. And when I say indie, I guess I mean newer. Because some indie writers are very, very professional. But I would say newer, younger writers, people that, hobbyists, whatever it is. Part of the reason they don't become more mainstream in a more, in a faster fashion, if you will, is because they do absolutely no fucking research. How many indie films have we seen? How many can we think of that have or include or are about a stand-up comedian of some sort that is not funny at all? And they've never tried stand-up. They've never attempted stand-up. They've never seen anything that has to do with stand-up. These people are not funny. Those types of things matter. Do a little bit of research. At the very least, go to an open mic night at Giggles on Route 1 or Boston Comedy Club or whatever it is, blah, 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 and then go hang out with some of the open micers and ask them some. I'm not saying you have to take up comedy if you want to write a movie about a comedian, but I'm saying, go and actually have conversations with comedians. Doing the research and jumping into those types of things are, how could you possibly write a story about a police officer if you're not going to call your local PD and be like, hey, can I do a ride-along for a day? I've got some questions. I'm trying to make a movie. What are they going to say? No? Well, that's illegal. It's part of the, your law. You're supposed to be able to take a ride-along with the peace officers. You want to write a story about a florist? What, you want to have a character in your movie who owns a flower shop? Go to a fucking local florist and say, hey, I'm making a movie about a florist. I have some questions. Does this make sense? Because 90% of the time, they're not going to fucking end up seeing your movie anyway. This idea, it's like, well, I would, but I don't want to give my movie away. Why? Nobody's going to watch it anyway. Give it away to everybody. Give it away to anybody who will fucking look at it. What difference does it make? All right, what do you, Stephen Joyce? What do you feel about pivoting on set when something clearly doesn't work on camera and feels unnatural, etc.? Does this throw the actors, writers, cast off? Curious on your experience on indie sets. Okay, give me a little bit, give me an example about what you're talking about when you talk about pivoting. Are you talking about a shot that doesn't work, or are you talking about lines not working? I just need a little bit more of an example. Happy to answer that question. I feel like there's a good answer for you in there somewhere if I can get a little bit more out of you. Bottom Feeder says, but to do those dream drug films, whatever, they can hide behind it's open to interpretation, or it's whatever you want it to be, instead of having a clear vision or clear story to tell. That's why I say it's lazy. That's exactly why I say it's lazy. And the problem is those people end up doing that stuff, and then they go, oh, well, I don't know why you have to be such a dick. It's not being a dick. It's called being honest. It's called telling the truth. And at the end of the day, would you rather have somebody tell you exactly like it is? Would you rather have someone say that outfit doesn't match? Would you rather have the person who says you have that big green thing in your teeth? Idiot. Would you rather have that, or the person who goes, no, you look great? Good job. Keep doing you. You look great with that big green piece of spinach in your teeth, you fucking moron. Which one would you rather have? When you look in the mirror at the end of the day, after you asked, do I have anything in my teeth? Big green hunk of spinach in your teeth. Do I have anything in my teeth? Everybody goes, no, you're fine. You go out, you give a big speech to a crowd of 10,000 people with a big hunk of spinach, green spinach in your teeth. And then you leave the stage, you go in the bathroom, and you look in the mirror and you smile and say, I did a great job. Oh my God, I have a big hunk of green spinach in my teeth. Tell me you don't want to commit homicide in that moment. Tell me you don't want to commit homicide in that moment. But the person was being nice and they didn't want to embarrass you and they didn't want to say anything bad. I'm the kind of person, I will hold your ass down on the ground, get me the tweezers, we're taking the green thing out so that you look good. Now, that might be a painful or obnoxious way to go about it, but when you look in that mirror in the bathroom after your speech is over, you're going to go, I did a damn fucking good job. And nobody can tell me otherwise. And I look damn good doing it. 100% on the research point. I see it constantly. Write about what you know, but don't discount the fact that there's more to learn. Exactly. When people say write about what you know, it doesn't mean you can't learn something first and then write about it. This is the thing where people get, they go, well, my life's boring. You're saying I'm not allowed to write Harry Potter or whatever it is. No, do some fucking research, bro. Do some research. Write about what you know means learn about something first and then write it. Like I said, J.K. Rowling spent 5 years just writing out spells, developing out the world, figuring out what it is before she even started writing the first book. So by the time she started writing the first book, that was a fantasy fiction novel, she was technically writing about what she knew because she had done the fucking research and figured out a way to make it all make sense before she started writing it. You see what I'm saying? So Josh, you're 100% right. Going back to your restaurant short story example, okay, I see where you're going with this. The writer said, I would punch him in the face. Why don't they write that in that moment? Why don't they write that in that moment? Of course, this throws the crew, but why not just go for it? Okay, so here's the deal. With that story specifically, this was not a conversation that was being had on set. This was happening prior to us shooting. We were going over the script, and I was going line by line saying, did last-minute changes? Do these things make sense? Are we going to be able to pull this off? Are these the shots that we want to do? Do these lines work? Are these actually funny? Is there anything else we can say that won't necessarily destroy or disrupt the story? That's kind of where I was at with it. My point in bringing that specific situation up was not about whether or not the character should actually do any punching in the face or anything like that. And on the day, on set, I would not necessarily go from a non-funny comedic moment to a punch in the face that could throw off your whole story. Like, as an example, if a guy and a girl are on a date, or a guy and a guy, or a they and they, I don't give a fuck. But I'm just saying, if two people are on a date in a scene, and in the script it says, he says this, she takes it as insulting and says something back, and he says something unfunny, and in reality, the person would have hit her in the face, I don't really think that it would be appropriate to just randomly have a guy, haul off and smack some... it could be kind of funny, though. I'm not going to lie. I'm not encouraging it. I don't call for violence, but it could be kind of a funny moment. My point is that, it's when you're on set, you don't really pivot. That's what I'm saying is, you got to... When you're telling a story, this is all pre-production shit. This is all writing, pre-production, making sure that you're talking about stuff ahead of time, and realistically surrounding yourself with people that are honest, can give constructive feedback, constructive criticism, and say, hey, listen, if you do this, I don't know if this is going to make sense. And this is part of the reason it's an issue for someone like me to go and review and give my honest feedback on indie films, and it's a big reason why I don't like to do stuff like that. And it's because you can't go back and change it. You can't go back and make those alterations now. They've already shot the movie. It makes me look like a fucking asshole, to be honest about indie films, and to be honest about things that, they pour their blood, sweat, and tears into something. They think they're doing a good job, and then I go in and go, well, none of that makes sense. What is the benefit there? What is the point? Now, again, if a filmmaker sends me a film and says, I want you to do that because I'm, about to embark on my next script, I'm about to do my own thing, I'm about to do the next thing that I'm whatever, and I just want to kind of learn from those mistakes, and everybody else just told me it was good, so I want to know where I went wrong, I'd be happy to help with that. That's not a problem. Fuck, I'm a producer. I do this shit all the time. People send me scripts constantly. We got to cool it on the sending me scripts, guys. Just saying. I'm getting a lot of scripts sent to me. Now, if I've already said send me your script in private off of this stream, you can still send it. But the rando scripts that I get, chill. Just chill a little bit. I'm getting pretty busy. I'm not feeling great. Does this make sense what I'm saying, though, about the restaurant scene? Like, you don't want to be changing stuff on set. You don't want to be pivoting or needing to pivot on set, especially if it comes to, like, well, I would have rather punched him in the face, because that can involve insurance issues and stunt coordination and additional people. If it's a line change that doesn't make sense, okay, so change the line. You know? That's all. Yes, thanks. Yes, you're welcome. God bless. I don't know. Do we have anything else? I'm telling you guys, we can keep it light tonight. We can keep it light. Steven, I know you're a writer. Ask me your questions. Bottom feeder, if you're there, ask me your questions. Say it now. People who don't know nothing, ask me your questions. Jish, where are you? Is it fair to say it's different if an actor ad-libs something in that scenario? I want to say yes, but again, actors should not be ad-libbing anything without direct approval from the director. Personally, the way that I like to go about doing things, and what I encourage directors to do, is let's get at least one clean. Let's get one that follows the script. Let's get one that I can rely, that I can fall back on. After we get one that is clean and follows the script, I will say, have fun. Do whatever the hell you want. Not really, but, you know, within the, if you got an ad lib, if you got an idea, it never really hurts to ask, though. Just ask the question. What do you want to do? Do you want to do this? Wouldn't it be funny? And there are a lot of times where you'll have a scriptie or even one of the writers on set who will walk up and say, okay, let's do another take. Why don't you just say this as an insult instead? You see this a lot. If you watch, like, Melissa McCarthy bloopers or behind the scenes stuff, you'll see a lot of times someone walks up with a script, like the teacher in the classroom, say this instead, and then they do, and you'll see whichever one comes out in the film, because some things are funnier in typing than they are in real life. The other thing that a little tip for writers out there that I think they should do, when you write a scene, this is going to feel very weird and people will think I'm fucking nuts for saying this, but it's true. When you write a scene out, sit there in front of your computer and read the script out loud to yourself. Because a lot of the time when you type something or you say something and then you go to say it out loud, it doesn't even sound like English. It doesn't even sound like the same fucking language. It sounds horrible. Nobody talks like that. All right, I'm getting tired. Final thoughts. Type them out now. Do what you got to do. Say what you got to say. It's a long night. Oh, my God. Almost at 9 o'clock. I did good tonight. A little round of applause. Oh, my God. Nice job for Nikki tonight. Anyway, these things are just things that I saw. How do we feel about the breakdowns of different things? I want to do all aspects of filmmaking. It'll be easier when Edmund's here. I know I'll feel better, but thank you, Jish, for the clapping. In comparison to big time productions, what do you think the biggest thing is for indie writers to focus on to actually allow their movie to be made? Less characters, etc. Yeah, simplify everything. Listen, I don't know what it is about people that think that bigger I was going to say, I don't know what it is about people that think that bigger is better. But what I was going to say is, like, again, it goes back to the scale over stakes. Tell a good, simple story that is relatable, that is understandable, that has real-world problems, even if the characters are a bunch of fucking unicorns, okay? Nobody gives a shit about wild zebra in the wilderness, in the grasslands of Zimbabwe, or wherever the fuck they are. Nobody cares about them. You write a movie like Madagascar, everybody cares. Why? Because they're not really animals. They're anthropomorphized, actors in animal drawing outfits, if that makes sense. There's nothing about Madagascar that is animalistic at all. At all. And if they were, it wouldn't make any fucking sense and the kids wouldn't like it. Sea sponges don't really live in pineapples under the sea. I'm sorry to break the news to you. But SpongeBob is one of the most relatable characters. Mr. Krabs as well. They're a huge, huge, huge IP. The only reason for that is because they tell stories that are simplistic and funny and that people can relate to. That's why. Simplify your storylines. Just tell me a story. Don't build me a clock. Just tell me what time it is. I woke up. Don't start your movie with waking up, for the love of God. Don't start your movie with the alarm clock, for the love of all that is good and holy. Just don't do it. Just don't fucking do it. Another tip for writers writing a story is start with the end. Start with the car accident. And I don't mean start the movie with the car accident, but start with the end result and then tell us how we got there. That's your movie. You start with the spilled milk on the ground. And you say, well, how'd the milk get spilled? That's the movie. The movie is I was hungry. I got up. I said, I want cereal. Except he didn't say I want cereal. The script says he opened the cabinet and smiled at the cereal box because no one who is there alone in a room by themselves says, I want cereal. My God, please don't put shit like that in your films. Next time your phone rings, think about it this way. Do you say out loud to yourself, is that my phone ringing? Whenever I see that in a movie, I just click, turn it off. I'm done. What a fucking waste of time and energy to get a shot. Imagine having to set up the shot for the character to notice the phone ringing and to say the actual words. The phone's ringing. Might want to pick that up. What a waste of breath. What a waste of time. What a waste of everybody's time. They do it. It happens all the fucking time. It happens all the fucking time. What was the thing I saw in Novocaine where the character did this? Oh, they did it. They did this. It was a good one, too. I think it was in Novocaine where she was walking, she was setting up the coffee or whatever it was. No. The brother. Okay, this is what it was. There's a scene they get. Just go with me on this, all right? So there's like a bank robbery thing that happens, and they're setting up the scene for the booby-trapped house. And the brothers are talking. There's like these two guys, the bank robbers, that are talking. And one of the bank robbers dies. There's three of them all together. He doesn't show up. So the two are in the, what do you call it? Safe house, whatever it is. There's two people in the safe house arguing about why the third hasn't gotten to the safe house yet. And he goes, oh, well, do you think he ran home quick? And the other guy goes, you mean after he just spent the whole week booby trapping and setting up, traps and things in the house? And you're like, Jesus Christ. Why can't we just see the character go to the house and go through all the booby trap stuff? Why do you need to say that? Why do you have to ruin the next 10 minutes of the movie? Like, we're going to see him go to a booby trapped house. And wouldn't you think to yourself, like, oh, obviously he booby trapped the house because he's a bank robber who's running away, and when the cops get there, they want things to happen to the cops or whatever. It's a movie, Here's my unsolicited script submission. Interior studio night. Devilishly handsome podcaster Nick. Correct. Wipes his runny nose, fuck off, and adjusts his bifocals. I got 20/20, motherfucker, to better read the comments on his live stream. They were extra small. They were extra tiny. That was the issue. But yes, that is a good setup. Where's the rest of it? Good message tonight. Story is everything. It is. It really is everything. But it's like, simplify the story. Don't overthink the story, man. Like, don't. It's like the world. You ever hear the phrase? Sure you have. Truth is stranger than fiction. Okay? You're walking out of a room holding a glass of wine, and you've walked out of this room 900 times before, but this time, when you're walking out of the room, the door frame hits you in the shoulder, because who put that fucking door frame there? And you drop the glass, and it shatters all over the ground. And it's the 900th time, not in the same night, but it's the 900th time you've walked out of that room. But that door frame, that got in the way this time, you know? And maybe you break or shatter a glass that's like a two-of-a-kind glass that you only had two of. That wasn't even yours. These things happen. These things happen. No one would write that in a script, though, because why would someone write that in a script? That would never happen, except for when it does happen. And that's why I say things like, go to a coffee shop in Everett or, Revere or in Boston or whatever, and just sit there and listen to the conversations that other people are having. You don't have to make a big deal out of it. Don't be a fucking creep, Don't be putting your phone under women's dresses, you fucking weirdo. But listen to the conversations that people are having. Listen to the way they talk to each other openly in public about their families and about the things that happened throughout their lives or whatever it is. And you're going to be like, are these people serious? Did you hear what happened? Write that stuff down. They don't know you. You don't know them. It doesn't matter. You don't have to use their names. But the truth, the reality of life is that there are 8 billion of us here. And every waking moment of every day, something is happening to one of us somewhere. And the reality of it is more interesting and stranger than anything that anyone can come up with. Because it's already happening in reality right now. All right. I love you all. I'm getting tired. Steven, if you have any questions, just either text me or say it right now. You got 5 seconds. Because I need to go to bed. Especially if anything's happening tomorrow. Okay, that's it. I'm gonna go with good night on that one. And we shall see you next. Yes, we will. 100%. I love you all, and I will see you guys next Monday. Next Monday's a big one. Every Monday's a big one, but next Monday's a big one too. And hopefully Edmund's back, and he doesn't decide that he wants to stay in LA. That would suck. Thank you guys. I'll see you next week. Peace.